Markets are poised to open with the Dow hoping to rebound after it fell more than 600 points yesterday. Stocks fell sharply as recession fears keep growing, with the S&P 500 tumbling below 4,000 points for the first time in over a year. It comes just hours before President Biden's major speech about inflation. Biden is expected to contrast his plans to lower costs with what the White House is calling Republicans' ultra MAGA plan, which Democrats have criticized for going after Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
Oh, also, they want to tax the working class because they don't think
there's that
the working class is paying their fair share.
Joining us now from the White House, the chair of the President's Council of Economic Advisors, Cecilia Rouse. Good to have you with us, Cecilia.
Ms. Rouse, thanks so much for being with us. We find out tomorrow what CPI numbers are. How bad do you all expect inflation to be in April?
Well, look, I'm not going to guess. That's a forecast. But what we know is that we're facing a period of elevated prices. We usually focus on two measures. There's the headline inflation, which includes volatile gas and energy prices and food prices, and core inflation, which is what the Federal Reserve is more focused on. You know, gas prices were a little bit lower last month, although they have come back, so that's why it's volatile. We will see what the numbers are. But obviously, we are focused on inflation. The president is very focused on it, which is why he's addressing the nation today to lay out his understanding and his focus on ways to try to address it. So the first is by trying to address gas prices and energy prices by releasing from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve in coordination with our partners around the world, encouraging gas and oil companies to use their leases and improve their drilling so we have more oil supply and gas supply on the market. He also wants to lower costs for families, healthcare costs, particularly prescription costs, childcare, housing, because we know that by easing those costs, making it easier for families to balance work and family, we can improve economic growth in a sustainable way going forward. And finally, he wants to do this by reducing the deficit. So we know the deficit was reduced by about $300 billion last year under his watch. His plan this year, we're on track to reduce it by another $1.5 trillion. And he does so by raising taxes on the very wealthiest individuals and corporations. He will contrast that with the Republicans, which, as you mentioned in your header, want to do so by raising taxes on the 95% or so of households that make less than $100,000, in contrast to the president, who won't go near the taxes for those making less than $400,000. So that's an important contrast, but he's focused on this every day.
I guess the question is that even if he's focused on it, even if he does everything that he can do, everything that a president could do, at the end of the day, we have three massive factors that have driven this. You know, $2 trillion kept on the sidelines during COVID. As COVID eases, people have gotten out, obviously spent a lot of that money. You've got the war in Ukraine that's obviously driven gas prices up even higher. And then, of course, you have China's just crazy COVID policy that's going to screw up the supply chain for months, maybe years to come. Really, at the end of the day, is this window dressing? Can this president or any president do anything about inflation with those outside sort of macro influences on the economy?
You've identified just the challenges that we've been through over the last 2 years. Fundamentally, our economy has been severely affected by the pandemic. The president, since he's been in office, has been focused on helping us get through the pandemic in a way that's safe by getting shots into arms, helping households and household balance sheets, as you pointed out, pay the rent, pay bills, helping businesses, helping state and local governments. The Federal Reserve was doing its bit to stabilize financial markets. But as you've pointed out, we're not through this yet. China has, its COVID policy threatens supply chains. The war in Ukraine is not helpful. So we understand, and the president understands, that these are challenging times. The good news is that we come at this from a position of relative strength. We had the fastest growth last year at 5.5%, which gives us some cushion, some resilience as we deal with further headwinds. The Federal Reserve, whose dual mandate is price stability and full employment, as Chair Powell has been articulating, they are on it. The president would urge Congress to confirm his nominees so that they have a full slate to address these important issues. But the president also wants to do what he can do on the fiscal side. So, I don't want to call it window dressing because it's all hands on deck, and all of these efforts make a difference. And importantly, they will address inflation in the short term, but also generate an economy that can, have faster growth, that's more sustainable, and that's more widely shared going forward as well.
Hey, Cecilia, good morning. It's Jonathan Lemire. Housing prices also surging. Want to get the White House concerns about whether they're overheating and what could happen next.
So housing is a big concern of the president and has been since the beginning. If you look at his budget, he's got proposals for increasing housing supply. This dates back to the financial crisis in the Great Recession. So we've had a supply challenge for some time. If you've noticed, the Federal Reserve, part of the immediate impact of their actions to address price stability is increasing mortgage rates. That will have some cooling of impact. But the president understands that, particularly in rental housing, we need to see increased supply, which is why, as part of his budget, he's proposing ways that we can do so going forward.
All right. Chair of President Biden's Council on Economic Advisors, Cecilia Rouse, thank you so much for being with us. We greatly appreciate it.